Welcome, everyone, to Higher Moment Mastermind. I'm Shira Lotzar, joined by my colleague Vern Schellinger and hopefully Alki Thompson shortly, to support you all in your job search with any question that is on your heart and mind. Vern and I have a varied background. I'm a recruiter and a career coach, and Vern is a former HR executive and currently career coach. Alki is a recruiter, and so we see things from all sides of the hiring aisle and have lots of rich perspectives that we hope will support you in your journey. So, who would like to kick us off with a question? Rebecca, you look like you're burning out. I gotta ask something.
So this is a little bit of a different question than I have asked here in the past because um I got a job.
Yay.
So
Yay, so you're employed right now.
I haven't started yet.
Okay.
But and I actually haven't signed the offer letter yet, but I'm gonna do
Oh,
that after this
okay.
call.
Okay. Is that related to your question?
Sort of. I do want to say just real quick that anybody, first of all, you're in the right place if you're looking for a job. Shira and Alki and Vern have been extremely helpful to me over my journey, and I'm putting my LinkedIn in the chat if anyone wants to connect with me and talk about anything at all, because I really would like to, pay it forward however I can. My question is, so a little bit of background. I accepted a part-time job um, recently through a staffing agency is one of those things that's like it's not temporary or permanent. It's sort of open-ended. Um, and I started that. I've been there for a week. But right after I accepted that job, I got an offer for a full-time job in my field. And so my question has to do with leaving the part-time job. Um, I don't start the full-time job until January 13th. And one of my friends was suggesting that I give the part-time job notice on December 20th, even though that's more than 2 weeks, but because of the holidays, like that next week is Christmas already. So he was thinking, yeah, people will be out, whatever. So that's the day you should do it. And I wanted a second opinion on that.
I think the three of us are gonna give you probably the same opinion. Resign
Okay.
right now, meaning the more notice you give them, the better. Employers love to get long notices. If you know right now that you're going to be starting a new job on the 13th, that gives them well over a month. I mean, again, actually minus the holidays, so even more so, to get their act together. So just to give you an example, so when executives resign from a full-time position, they typically give at least a month's notice. And the
Mm,
reason is because at that level, it typically takes, time to find a replacement. And even then, a month isn't even nearly enough. And
hmm
so employers absolutely appreciate when you can give them way more than heads up. 2 weeks is really the minimum that people give. And even then, you haven't even really barely started. So even then, people probably wouldn't even expect you to give that much notice. And it's not even a full-time job. But if you went the extra mile and gave them notice right now, they will so appreciate the extra lead time because frankly, they were planning on having you there for a while, right? And you're going to be leaving much more quickly than they thought. And they're like, oh my gosh, now we got to scramble again. So you giving them a month's notice, I mean, to me, is just everything. There's only good things in that, in terms of goodwill. So that's my opinion. Vernon Alki, do you feel
Well,
similar?
I would agree with it. The flip side of the coin is depending on the employer. They're going, wow, we just hired you and now you're leaving, and that type of thing. At the end of the day, Rebecca, you need to do what's right for you, right? And you've got a full-time job that's, you've got the offer, you've got a job that's in your field. And so you've got to make this decision. You're not going to turn that job down and stay with this part-time job,
Mm,
just because of, you're so loyal. That's just not the right decision.
yeah.
So if there's a little bit of blowback from, the employer, just accept it and understand their point of view. But the fact of the matter is you're moving on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
The only thing else I would add now that I'm thinking about in terms of the fact that you've been there for a week, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So look, I mean, the fact is that it's not like you've been there for 6 months and you're gonna like transition. The only thing that could happen in giving early notice, if this is even really early because it's only the 6th and you're talking about the 20th, is that maybe they're like, okay, it's so quick, you haven't really gone into the job enough to transition out, so they might end it early. I don't know if they'll do that because, in other words, you might be risking losing a few weeks or a few weeks of pay. I mean, that would be, I guess, a slight risk only because you just started and there
Right.
really isn't much. They might say, oh, well, why should we continue to train you when you're just not going to be here? So if you're
Hmm.
worried about a couple weeks extra of losing pay, okay. But even so, I don't know. That would be my only other kind of flip, just because of how short it's been that you've been there. But normally I'd say, look, the more notice, the better.
Hmm. Okay. Okay.
Alfie, you have a
So,
thought on that?
Um, Morning. Yeah, I think I missed some of the timing, but we're talking about 2 weeks or so.
um,
So she starts.
well, I've only been at the part-time job for a week, which was just 3 days because it's a part-time job.
But 2 weeks between now and starting the new start date.
The new start
Nothing.
date is January 13th. And so if
Yeah.
she was getting advice to resign on the 20th because of the holidays, give them a little extra. And I was like, well, to me, it's like the more notice, the better, because the employer is going to be needing the time to go find a replacement. On the other hand, again, she did just start, so they might just kind of cut it off and say, look, it's not even worth it. And, then so she'll be missing out on a few weeks of pay. So, you know.
To me, that part and what Vern said, those are the two most important things. So first, I mean, advice is great, but it's just advice. Vern makes a point. You have to think of you first and what's best for you and consider all of that. You're also being considerate of the employer, but you definitely want to consider your situation, which brings in what Shira said, because I've seen it a lot too, where it's like, oh, you're going to leave us? Well, let's go ahead and tie it up today then. Like it may happen that day, it could happen the next day. And as long as you're prepared for that, that might be something to think about. Like if you need, a couple of extra paychecks or whatever, might be something to consider because it does happen. I've seen it happen where it's like, yeah, let's go ahead and get your keys today. And oh, well, you did this to us. And, hey, thanks for coming and we'll see you later. So you have to prepare yourself for that. But whatever you do at the end of the day, thinking through things like that, make this decision for you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. There's always a balance.
Yeah.
It always is. Them and you, right?
Yep.
Got to try to do win-win as much as possible.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank
All
you.
right. Well, we wish you every blessing and success in your next role.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome to stop on by whenever you like and give us a little bit of encouragement here. By the way, was there any interesting story around how you landed this new job? A networking
Actually,
story,
yes.
maybe? Love to hear it.
I the company I'm going to be working for, I have a former coworker that works there, and he heard that the job was going to be posted. It's not on his team, but he knew the hiring manager, and he knew that it was coming. So he said, "Go ahead and send your resume to him." So I kind of got in there early. And also this friend uh, talked to the hiring manager and said he said quote glowing things. So that
Yeah.
was extremely helpful.
Yeah.
I think that pushed it over the edge.
I will
So
tell you, so many people get jobs because of their former boss, their former colleagues, people who knew them and work with them. I mean, it is just,
yep.
the way that so many people, because they already trust you. They know your work, they know your superpowers, and they're like, oh, please, new employer, you gotta meet Rebecca.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
Exactly.
That's pretty classic. Oh, that's wonderful. That's good. So
Yeah.
there's just an
Talk about
encouragement for everybody to keep those contacts, warm and
Yeah.
toasty.
Yep.
We say all the time that, most jobs come from somebody you know or
Somebody you know.
networking, somebody you meet, somebody who knows of a job, somebody who knows the
Yeah,
hiring manager,
that's right.
and
It's who
Rebecca's
you know.
just re-emphasizing that, that's so important, the relationships that you build in your life and how they can help you, especially when it comes to the job search.
And by the way, don't discount, and Vern and I talk about this a lot. Vern calls them dormant relationships. The people you haven't talked to in 1, 5, 10, 15, 25 years, they are not gone from your life. They might have a low ember, that flame could easily pop back up when you just reach out and go, Susie, it's been a while. And she'll say, blast from the past, Rebecca, how you been the last 25 years?
Hmm.
Kidding,
Yep.
really, people do that. I mean, again, Vern and I always talk about this, how he and I are literally that example. We hadn't seen each other in 10 years or something. And sure enough, somebody from this group knew him and said, hey, Vern, I'm part of this group. And he's like, Shira, oh my gosh, right? He calls me and here he is now the last couple few years because of the resurrected relationship. Because and Alki and I too, actually. Alki and I have known each other. How long has it been now? 15 years? I don't know, a long time.
Yeah.
And same thing,
2012.
reached out and it's so my point is those relationships are still there if as long as you left on good terms, they will be delighted to hear from you. So just always keep those contacts, warm, especially when you're in a search.
I, I might add to first, congratulations. You've been hanging out with us for a while, so congrats on that. But um, can you still apply and get jobs? Yes, and all of that kind of stuff. And can you apply and somebody call you back tomorrow and it work? Yes. But from an insider, from a recruiting insider, there just is no better vouching than somebody who knows you, and also skipping the line, skipping the approval, skipping the trust problems and all of those types of things with just one person saying, hey, they're about to post a job. I can get you out in front of the line. There is no substitute for that. And there's also no substitute for, hey, we've been looking for a while. We can't fill this position. You know what? You might be great for it. Let me give this to my boss, or I'm not in that group, but I know the guy who leads that group. There's no substitute for that at all. And I've heard these things on the inside. I've heard these conversations, even when I couldn't fill a position and I worked on the inside, and they were like, oh yeah, okay, we pulled Derek from XYZ department. He has some of that experience. We're going to pull him over. Why did they pull him over? Because they know Derek. That's why they're pulling him over.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
it's
actually-
relationships and it's trust building, and that there we cannot emphasize that enough. And frankly, your references are important too. I mean, I had it happen, I don't know, a number of months ago, where I filled a search, and right at the end of the process, it was a couple finalist candidates, and the employer knew they all came from the candidates came from the same industry, which is very common as well. And so the employer knew folks where this person worked, and he's like, this person's reputation precedes them, and we know of this guy, right? Before you brought him to us, Shira. And so that was the extra layer of seal of approval, that you just can't you can't buy that. And so what we're trying to emphasize, these relationships matter. All the good relationships you have carried into your life, especially those that are in the sector that you play in, because
Mhm.
those sectors are little fish ponds, right? People know each other. All those little fishies bump into each other all the time, and your reputation precedes you, right? And if you keep up a good relationship, this is when it counts. When people can say, "Let me bring you in," or "Oh, here's a reference," or "Right, let me call so and then all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, Rebecca, she's trusted," you know? Yeah.
And you've heard Shira say over and over again, employers are risk averse. So
Mhm.
everything Alki just said and everything Shira just said, it the risk averseness on the employer side of the fence comes down because they're getting this information about the person, or they know the person through someone else who's promoting them, and it makes them feel more comfortable that they're going to hire somebody who
That's
does
right.
have the skills and abilities to do the job.
Look at you when you look for a vendor. I don't know, you want a plumber, you want a hairdresser, you want a dentist, whatever you're looking for. What do? Either you go to Yelp or something, right? A public forum, or you go to your friends or your neighbors, right? Say, hey, who knows of a trusted fill in the blank?
Yep.
Because you don't just want someone out of the proverbial yellow pages, right? You want someone
Mhm.
who someone else vouches for, and that helps you mitigate your own risk.
Yep.
Mhm.
Great. Thanks for prompting us with all that, Rebecca.
Yep.
You never knew it turned into this whole speech.
You're welcome.
Yeah, sure. All
Well,
right.
once again, congratulations,
Yeah,
Rebecca.
congratulations.
Good
Great.
luck.
That's great.
Really appreciate it.
That's great. By the way, it is a corporate or is it an association?
It's corporate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Well,
I
once
was
you're
looking for for a nonprofit for a while there, and yeah, I mean, You just never know what comes your way. This position, I believe they were filling it because somebody retired, so you just
Mm,
never know. Like
mhm.
you could be you could be trying to get a job at a particular company. It's just not happening, not happening, but something could change,
Yeah,
in an instant. So
that's right. Well, once you're all signed, sealed, and delivered, come back and tell us where you are, and we'll be happy to keep supporting you.
I'll do that.
Oh, that's great. Christina, you are new with us. We'd love to hear kind of what you're looking for, and if you have a question that we can support you with.
Yes, I just recently got my property and casualty license and life and health insurance license, so I'm looking for work with an insurance agency. And I did something this week I have never had to do before. It was horrible. I had to cancel a job interview to reschedule it because I simply could not get there. Something came up and I could not get there. And I was wondering, what's the best way to do that, and how do you follow up on that?
Can you give a little bit more specific when you say best way to do that? Can you tell us the scenario so we can help you?
I had a job interview. It was in a rural area. My car broke down, and I did not feel comfortable using Uber way out there.
Mm. Okay, so what did you do? How did you handle it?
Um, I don't remember what I said now. I called them and told them that I was very sorry, but I wasn't able to make it to the interview. I didn't feel too badly about it because I had this interview scheduled a week earlier and he canceled it because he couldn't make it.
Right.
So, yeah, that's
Did
what
you
happened.
reschedule it on the spot?
No, I wasn't able to. I called the office and the agent was tied up, so I had to leave a message with someone.
Oh, I see. When you called to reschedule or when you called to cancel, it was through somebody else. You had to talk.
Yeah, I couldn't reach the agent.
I
Yeah.
see. And when was that?
That was Wednesday.
Okay. Right. Have you followed up yet to talk
No,
to?
I haven't. I wasn't sure. I
Yeah.
wanted
So
to come here and ask my questions.
yeah, sure, sure. So, and I'll happy to start and, Vern and Alki chime in. First of all, relationship rules apply to anything in the interview process. Okay. So this is a relationship that just as if you were rescheduling with a colleague or what have you, right? If it's important, you're going to want to follow up. So you did the right thing in that moment. I would today, like right after this call, I would reach out again. And I'd reach out by phone, I'd reach out by email. Of course, express your apologies once again, car situation, blah, blah. And to see when, they would be open to rescheduling. I would also offer in this case, I would also offer some times. I would say I would be very specific. Don't just say, oh, call me when you want to reschedule. With any sort of scheduling, whether it's with an employer, whether it's with a colleague or what have you, one of a tip just to share with anyone here, and this is including when you're networking, it makes it a lot easier for people to schedule if you offer something, if you offer them some choices. When you don't offer anything, it's almost like it's too open, right? So in this case, I would say, again, my sincere apology is car broke down. I'm ready to reschedule. Might any of the following options work for you? And just offer three options. And then they have something to look at. And they'll say, oh, well, actually, we can't do these, but we can do this. All right. So I would actually, in this case, that's what I would proffer and say, but you can say, here are three options, but I'm happy to be flexible in my schedule as much as possible. Right. You're not limiting them, but you say as a
Mhm.
caveat, I'm happy to try to accommodate your schedule as much as possible. Here are three options. Would any of these work for you? Or ranges, Tuesday from 10 to 12, that kind of stuff. Right. That's what I would do.
Okay.
It gives them an anchor to start with. And then they can always say, well, I can't do this, but I can do that. And especially with networking, with networking, again, very big tip. You ever reach out to a networking colleague and want to meet with them, you can reach out and say, hey, would you be open to meeting? If so, I'll toss out some times. But you never want to say, hey, networking colleague, let me know what works for you. Then it'll never happen because there's just too many options. If you really want to meet with them, you can say, and they say,
Mhm.
sure, happy to. Okay, how about these
Mhm.
three times? And then it gives them something to work with, and then they can adjust.
Mhm.
Yeah. It kind of makes them more concrete when you give them some options.
I
Burner,
see. Thank you so much.
sure. Burner Alki.
No, nothing to add. Good luck rescheduling and hopefully interview goes well. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
I'm from the school as a recruiter. On the one hand, I'm from the school of being honest and truthful when things happen because life happens. And I laughed when you told me that he canceled first or they canceled first because it happens. Even though there's some employers and some recruiters who are like, they reschedule, but then when the candidate misses, they're like, oh wow, that's it, just cancel that person. So I'm glad that it happened. It had already happened. But to Shira's point, you want to be, whenever you miss, you want to be accommodating and voluntary and show that you're willing. Um, some people may say, yeah, tell them you had car trouble. Well, that could be truthful, but it also might show, she doesn't have dependable transportation. They could judge
Yeah.
you on that. And so you can share you had an emergency, but whenever that happens, though, again to Shira's point, you have to show your seriousness, like as quick as you can. Like, hey, let me make up for this just to show you, hey, I'm not playing around. I'm not just pulling
Right.
your leg.
That's
It
right.
was my mistake. I'm here with options. I'm ready to go because I'm serious about this opportunity, and I was looking forward to meeting you and all those types of things. So that'd be my 2 cents.
That is an excellent point, Alki, because if you didn't follow up, he could think that you were just making an excuse, and that's why you canceled the interview. But by following up actually shows that you're serious. That's great, Alki. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Pete or Mark, I mean, what's going on in your worlds?
Well, in my case, not much has been achieved. Occasional getting out of resumes where they look good, but I know that in the current market, it's probably not doing enough. So yes, I'm just checking in here, and it's been a while, as you noted, since I've seen you all, and we're coming up on the holidays, so I thought I would uh, uh, see all of you again, which is always a pleasure.
Yeah.
You've all been very helpful to me in the past. I
Oh,
appreciate
always good to see you. So I'll just ask one little follow-up question, and not that we have to go too deep because I know we're in a group setting here. But how is your networking going? And then here's why I asked that. I mean, I'm asking this to you, Mark, but as a general, question for people to think about. I ask you that because oftentimes when we network, we erroneously think that, oh, let me plant a seed here and a seed there. Oh, those didn't sprout. Okay, nothing's going on. But actually, as I often say here, we have to be like farmers. We have to plant a ton of seeds because the birds, the wind, and the rain are going to eat 50% of them, right? And so my question for you, and also encouragement for everyone, is: are you planting lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of seeds, right? Rather than just a few. Like how big is your pipeline? Because remember, a pipeline's got to be this big in order for there to be a little funnel at the end of how many are actually going to kind of sprout.
it's not nearly as large as that.
Yeah. So I just want to encourage you to be thinking about
More networking, yes.
more networking, more expansiveness, thinking about all the people. If you think about it in terms of a bullseye, I have different analogies for these, but this is one. Your bullseye would be the people who are going to be, or I sometimes call them your twins or your siblings, right? The people who are going to be closest to what you want to do, this pond you fish in, right? Like your people. Those are the people who are going to be the best referral sources because they know you, but more importantly, they're within your sector or they're within your lane, right? And then of course there's another layer and another layer. But the closer you are to the people who really get what you do, the more likely it is they're going to be able to refer you. But you've got to keep, building that network so that more and more and more people know, right? It's not a onesie twosie, it's a 5Z, 10Z, 50, 100y, right?
Yes, and I know that.
Yeah. So
Yeah, one other point about that is the people that really well, as Shira was pointing out, that are in your lane and you know them well. Recognize if you've built a solid relationship with those people, one of the easiest questions you can ask them is there anyone in your network that you'd be willing to introduce me to that
That's
you
right.
think might be able to, obviously they know your situation, so hopefully they'd be referring you to someone in their network that they believe might be able to help you in some way. And that's a pretty easy, it's not a cold call, it's kind of a warm introduction from that person. And 99.9% of the time, the person they're introducing to you, they're going to say, sure, if Vern recommended that you talk to me, I'm happy to talk to you, because Vern and the person have the type of relationship where that's just common practice.
Mhm.
You know, along those lines, and unless Alki, you wanted to add something, I want to give another tip.
I was actually going to give one or two tips, so go ahead. You do your tip first.
Actually, mine was I'm gonna do a screen sharing and do a tiny little LinkedIn training.
Okay.
So I didn't-
So two things. One, we talked earlier about somebody retiring. So when it comes to networking, I know a lot of times we talk about networking on this call, and a lot of people are like, well, how do I network my job search? So one creative thing to think about is this time of year, a lot of people retire. And so in your networking, and Vern was just talking about this too, when you mention sometimes like, hey, do you know anybody who's hiring or you know anybody who might be hiring? The hiring part, a lot of people are like, no, I don't know anybody who's hiring, but just the networking, like, who do you know in my space? I'm just networking, just meeting people. That's a little bit more friendly. Like, oh yeah, I know Bob, I know Jill, and just it could be just meeting those people, and then in those conversations, opportunities come up. But the one creative tip that I know we often talk about networking on this call, networking for jobs, but networking in general, just hey, who do you know who does what I do? Or who do you know in the space that I'm in? Introduce me if you can think of anybody. And those sometimes are easier meets. And then you maybe in those conversations, hey, you know anybody who's might retire soon? Or if you hear about anybody who might retire
Yeah,
soon or think about retiring
that's,
or whatever, it's just other creative ways to go about this networking thing.
Yeah, for sure.
that's a
So
good point.
along those lines, so I'd like to, I don't know when I've done this before, but it's worth doing. So I have this, I do LinkedIn training for help people to do fishing within LinkedIn. So I have this concept that I call deep sea fishing within your first level contacts. Let me say that again. Deep sea fishing within your first level contacts. I'm not sure if you all know this, but if you are first level connected to someone, there's a 99% chance, I'll tell you the 1% that doesn't work, but there's a 99% chance that you will be able to tap into their contacts because you're first level connected. You can
Mhm.
actually see it. Now, there's a 1% chance where it doesn't work, but I will show you under what conditions that is. So I'm going to just pull this up and show you. I'll use Alki as my guinea pig here. All right, so I'm going to pull up Alki. All right, so here's Alki. And again, this only works because we are first level connected. It will not work if we were second or third. So I'm going to click on Alki. Okay, so I want you to notice this.
Mhm.
Notice that under his name, see where it says
Mhm.
500 plus connections? I want to
Yes.
sit there for just a second. Here's the deal. Only because this is blue can I click on this link. When I do that, his contacts are going to come up. But remember I said there's the 1% chance this doesn't work? If Alki was very private about his connections and didn't even want his first level seeing his connections, this would be black. If it's black, you can't click on it, okay? But usually
Okay.
it's blue. Most people keep it open. So you click on the 500 plus connections, okay? And now you're going to see, right, all of these people are going to come up page after page after page after page, okay? Now, why is this important? Because, and by the way, some of these people are going to be first levels for you too. In fact, it's possible that, Alki and I have some contacts that are mutual, and that's fine. That's unto itself a good reminder to you of who your first levels are. But more than likely, it's going to be second levels, right? Meaning
Mhm.
that you and or me and Alki in this case are first. These people are my seconds. Why is this important, Mark? Because let's just say you're having let's say you're having a networking meeting with Alki, okay? Before you go to that meeting, this is presuming you and Alki are first levels. You have to
Right.
be first levels. You can go ahead and do some deep sea fishing here. Come to the meeting with some prompters. Now, not 25, that's a little overwhelming, but 5, 7, and say, hey, I noticed that you're connected to Bob and Tina and blah, blah. And you're going to be clicking on these people in advance. You're going to see, are these people ones that I want to connect with? And in your case, banking executives, those kinds of things, people on boards, and say, Alki, Fred, Christina, whoever you are, look, I did some little bit of research in your LinkedIn contacts. I noticed that you were connected to these 5 people that I have an interest in meeting with. And what you're going to say to them is this: do you know these people well enough to broker an introduction? Now remember, LinkedIn is just a database.
Mhm.
database. Relationship rules still apply. So
Mhm.
there's your relationship with Alki in this case, right? But then there's Alki's relationship with Bob or Katrina or Tina. You don't know that yet. So you need to ask and say, would you feel comfortable brokering an intro? And he might say, yeah, with those three people, I do feel comfortable. Great. Now what's the next step? Alki's a busy guy. Christina's a busy girl. Whoever you're talking to, they're busy. They're going to have all well intention to do those introductions. And guess what? You end the call, leave the lunch, they get busy and they forget.
Mhm.
So my recommendation is, in fact, this is as we're saying this, I just remembered a couple days ago, I promised to introduce somebody and I just remembered I need to go do it. Um, what you do is you ask them if you can prompt them. Okay. Send them a tickler. So, hey, you leave the lunch, leave the Zoom call with Alki, and you say, hey, Alki, look, you're a busy guy. If you were me, I might forget, right? Would it be okay if I sent you a tickler reminder, an email? And he'll say, of course. And what you can do is you can say, I'm going to even go one step further. I'm not just going to send you a reminder to email. I'm going to prompt you and I'm going to make it easy for you to do the intro. If it's okay, Alki, I'm going to send you, let's say it's 3 people for introductions. I'm going to send you
Mhm.
3 emails. And I'm going to tee it up. I'm going to say, hi, Alki. Thanks for speaking with me recently and for agreeing to introduce me to Susie Cream Cheese. The reason why I'm looking to meet her is, or as a reminder, the reason why I'm looking to meet her is blah, blah, blah. Attaches my resume. Here's my LinkedIn profile. Thanks for brokering the introduction. All Alki has to do is hit forward and just do a quick one-liner. And you can say to Alki, would you please CC me on the introduction? Presuming he feels comfortable doing that. Now, sometimes people like to do what's called permission referrals, where they reach out to the person first to get their permission to introduce you. And that's fine. But sometimes people are perfectly happy to just do the intro. If that's the case, you can say, please CC me. All he has to do is say, hi, Susie, want to introduce you to my colleague, Mark. Please see his introduction below. And then if you're CC'd, and this is for everybody on this call. Ready? If somebody introduces you to somebody else, hit reply all first. Don't wait for the other person because they're busy. You're the one who has a need to meet with them. Hit reply all, thanks, Alki, in parentheses, move to BCC, and then move Alki to BCC so he's not on the whole scheduling thread. Hi, Susie. Terrific to connect with you. Would love to schedule a call. Let me know if any of the following times might work for you.
Mhm.
Right? That kind of thing. So you're being proactive the whole way. You're being proactive in making in reaching out in LinkedIn and doing the deep sea fishing. You're being proactive and saying, hey, I know Alki, you're busy. Let me prompt you with the emails, and you're being proactive in replying all, so that you can prompt so and so to actually meet with you. Is that helpful?
Yes, that's a graduate course. Thank you. I never,
Yeah.
I never
What-
dreamt.
Yeah. These are all these old, but we're networkers on this call. Me, Vern, and Alki, like this is what we
Yes.
do, right? We're always building relationships and whatever. So this is sort of like insider tips, pro tips.
Thank you. That was
No.
marvelous.
There's just one addition to what Shira said. She mentioned it in the example. Elke has all of these connections. Some of them, it depends on the strength of the relationship.
Right.
Because as you know, if you go to your LinkedIn account right now, there's probably people on that LinkedIn account who are your first connection, and literally you can't remember where you met them or who they are.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's just the way LinkedIn works. They want you to, 500 plus connections, and they're pushing you to just connect with the people digitally,
Right.
and there's really no human connection there. Now, for most people, their first level connections, they know most of them, but they may not know all of them. So, um, and that, I mean, if somebody said, Vern, could you introduce me to Susie Brown? And I look and I said, oh God, Susie Brown's first connection. I don't even remember Susie Brown or where I met her. It's going to be hard for me to make,
That's right.
I still might try to do it, but it's not as easy as if somebody said, would you introduce me to Shira or Alki? That would, I could do that in a heartbeat.
I understand that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. The first person, Bob, I know Bob. I know where he's from. The second person, Tina. I don't remember her at all. And then I think the third or fourth person down, Priscilla, is a former coworker. And so people don't do this enough. Why? Because they don't think about it in their job search. But also, it's easier to just scroll to the job boards and go, hey, this is a clear job. This is an opportunity. This is what I'm looking for. I want to send my resume. I got to send it in. And now you pray and you wait. And you may or may not hear anything back. People don't like to do this. I think I looked at whatever, I got 2,700 connections. Like Vern said, I don't know them all, but no one's going to go. And I've told many people, like, listen, feel free to look through my connections and see if there's anybody that works at a company that you're interested in, anybody that you think I know, and get back to me. Like Shira said, not 25 or 30, or at least 4 at a time. And let's try these 4 and see what happens. And then at any time, feel free. I'm happy to look, but people don't do it. And I'm always amazed because some people do, but people never get back. And like my contacts, most like half of them are HR people. Like they know where the jobs are. They have a say so on the jobs, or they can at least give you intel. Like, yeah, don't apply that position. That's internal. Like I'm amazed at the people who don't take advantage of my network. Mostly why? Because they're like, that takes time. I don't know about this cold call thing. I don't know about reaching out to people. Which, by the way, in doing this, Shira reminded me that a childhood friend of mine is a major VP with one of the main banks. And I know I was looking for you before, but
Yes.
this just prompted me now that I want to reach out to him and see where he's at and where things are, and seeing if maybe that's an introduction that could do
Well,
something. But
thank
yeah,
you.
he's an SVP, or he just switched positions, but he's up there with one of the major banks. So let me check and see. And he may even know somebody in the banking world that may open up something. So let me check on him.
Okay, I'll touch base with you. Thank you very much.
Sure.
But we could actually have a whole LinkedIn conversation. But Pete, I wanted to see if there's anything you wanted to prompt us with. Otherwise, we'll go back to LinkedIn.
Well, I guess kind of along with Rebecca and Mark, I guess there's kind of a tie in there. So yesterday I had an interview with a startup company, and I think it was like last week when I saw their posting, and I think it was very important to be one of the first. I think when I looked at it, it said, maybe like a dozen or 16 people had applied or whatever for the position. So I think that in part is why they reached out to me, because I was one of the early people to get in there, and they closed it down already, for looking at other candidates, at least for the time being.
Yep.
So I think it seems to be very important to, if you don't have that internal connection, like in Rebecca's case, hers and mine, I think, are a little bit similar in that, we were in her case, she got in before it was even posted, but I got in on the very early part of the posting. And I think that is as key or important, I guess, to be in that first group.
Yes.
Versus you see a position and then try and establish some sort of connection internally. If you spend too much time trying to get that internal connection, I think maybe you lose your opportunity of.
It's both and. And Alki definitely talks about this frequently, right? If a recruiter posts a job on LinkedIn, and not just LinkedIn, any job board, Indeed, CareerBuilder, whatever, we tend to get, especially if it's a remote position, we tend to get 1 to 200 resumes in the first 24 to 48 hours. Easy. No exaggeration. Easy.
Yeah.
We're going to look at the first ones that come in, right? And at some point, probably pretty quickly, we're going to shut it down because we have too many candidates. So there's that. There's the apply early. Then there's the and. The and is once you've applied, now go search your contacts, see who you know, see who can also be a warm referral and internal connection. A, to just get you the interview, but B, in terms of like what Rebecca was talking about, that was a relationship. So if you apply on a job board and somebody personally recommends you and says, oh, you got to talk to Pete, that just puts icing on the cake for the recruiter. So not only did you apply quickly, but somebody in their trusted network referred you. And that just makes them all the more interested in not only meeting you, but having a good feeling about you when they're interviewing you. So I would say it's both. And it's a really good point, Pete. Alki?
Yeah, it's definitely both, and that's a great point, Pete, because even I tell people like my preference these days, because there's 3,000 people applying, is if you're not first, almost forget about it, or if you see an opportunity, very quickly. Don't wait any longer than 24 hours. Now it might be 8 hours or 4 hours, but if you can, before you apply, look quickly. What Shira just said, look and see who do you know real quick before you apply, because not only might you get a referral and a connection, but you might get some intel. You might get some valuable intel, and they're like, oh yeah, that job was on the job board. Listen, they're only hiring people with boom, boom, boom. Make sure that's on your resume. So when you do apply, they may give you some intel. But I always say, it's up to you. If you want to apply, go ahead and apply, but don't wait any longer than 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours, 24 hours, because you may miss it. But it's definitely both. And I agree with that.
And to make sure you have alerts, right, set up so that you're being notified of the right position very, very quickly.
Yeah. A month or so ago, I forwarded a LinkedIn post to Alki and Shira on this, similar to this connection or what you're talking about, Pete. And it was a post from an HR VP who was interviewing for a position. And she pointed out, she was interviewing someone for the position, and she pointed out to them that they received 1,500 resumes within 24 hours.
Okay.
So think about that from the recruiter standpoint. 1,500. I mean, you're going to look through the first, 10, 20, 30. I don't know how many you're going to look from, but you're not going to look through 1,500. So if you're down, you're just not even going to look at. So to your point, being early is important.
It's something to know, by the way. You wouldn't know this. But unlike the ATS, the applicant tracking system, where an in-house recruiter can look at their own database and do keyword searches, we can't do that on these job boards. We don't have ways to sort of nicely filter down all of the people. We just have to go in order and go boom, 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 boom. Now we'll see on the left side of the page, or at least with LinkedIn, we'll see on the left side of the page, candidate, and then we have on the right side, there'll be a screen, a pop out, right? And we'll see quickly what that person's about. But we don't have a way to naturally filter. My point is that it's not like we can take the 1,500 and then cull down to the 25 that we like best. It's just sort of a running list. And so the point is that, or apply quickly, right? But to Vern's point, before you, don't apply in 2 seconds, just, take a second. Who are you connected to? Maybe that person well enough, they'll get on a call with you very quickly, and they can, text them or whatever and say, hey, do you know anything about this? But if you don't hear back from them quickly, go ahead and just apply. And then you can, on the back end, get referrals and intel and stuff.
I'm always thinking of parallels. This is the local pro sports team or whatever, and you're going to the game and they're like, hey, first 500 fans get, and if you don't know Nolan Ryan, forget about it, but first 500 fans get Nolan Ryan's autograph and a photo with him. Yeah, if you're not in that first 500, forget it. Or if it's some bobblehead, some classic thing that's really important that they're giving away, they only have 100. So everybody's going to the game, everybody's applying, but only certain people are going to get looked at. And then, as Shira said, we're going to cut it. Even 1,500, the number 1,500 makes me cringe right now as I think about it.
Southwest Airlines, I know they just changed their policy, but right, you had to kind of like 1201 hit the button so you can get in the A list, right? The A category. Yeah. So apply quickly.
I have a follow-up to that. Do you have a recommendation on, so I do have a number of alerts set up, and I get far too many emails from, like LinkedIn alerts, Glassdoor alerts, and I mean, it's just overwhelming, ZipRecruiter and so forth. I've heard that using the Google Job Aggregator is a good tool to identify, kind of, it supposedly does a fairly decent job encompassing at least the more popular job sites where people post positions. Do you have a recommended like go-to spot to try and find, the most current jobs instead of waiting for your alert to come in? Because
That's
some of them are only
Rebecca.
set up for daily or whatever.
That's Rebecca, and we might be losing her. So that's our in-house specialist on things like that.
Rebecca, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. It is overwhelming. And I'm not sure I can help very much with that. I'm not familiar with the Google job aggregator. That sounds good. It might be helpful. I think, I think it's just if you're not going to be looking through all those emails all the time, and that's okay. I think it's just, as it comes through, give it a quick look and just go to the ones that pop out at you. And if you need to, I think with some of mine, the searches were too broad, so I had to kind of go in and put in a little bit more to filter them down. Yeah.
A little
I know
hard
that's
with you, Pete, because you're in the technical space. The market is, if anything, the market is always flooded with tech types of roles more than anybody else because recruiters are looking for the purple squirrel, unicorn type, and there's just so many opportunities. For as much as we hear about all the layoffs in tech, there's also a lot of opportunities, and there are technical recruiters that are just like flooding the market, with jobs. So it's a little trickier for you. I would suggest, look, I know our meetup is very nice, but it's very generic. Like as you see, we have people from every sector. In addition to us, I would recommend that you find some job search groups that are very tech specific or CISSP, what have you, like anything that's really kind of in your space. Oh, also, are you a member or are you familiar with ASIS?
I'm sorry, AS?
Yeah, ASIS, it is an association in the security industry.
I'm not.
So they're for all security professionals, and they've been recently kind of ramping up their cyber membership. So, and I think there's another organization also for cybersecurity professionals, meaning an association, a membership organization, a networking organization. You want to be playing with those folks because those are the folks who know the jobs. So not just the job boards. And this is for everybody on this call. You've got
Yeah.
fish ponds of people, right, who do what you do or do it in the sector that you do it. You want to go find those associations, whether it's a membership organization that you have to pay dues for, or even a meetup group that where those people are hanging out. Generic groups like us are fine and great. You never know who you're going to meet. Like, we didn't know that, Alki would have a banking contact for Mark. That's great, happens. But at the same time, Mark's in financial services, and Pete, you're in security, and Christina, you're in insurance, right? And Rebecca, you're in education. Like you're in all these different realms. There are hubs for all of you. There are homes, right, where people are swimming with each other. And Pete, I really want to encourage you, just literally type in Google CISSP Association or Cybersecurity Association. Find the places where people hang out on LinkedIn. Type in CISSP, hit groups. All of you can do this. Hit the groups, not the people button, hit the groups button. And you can see the groups of people who are hanging out. And once you join one of those groups, you now have the right to go reach out to all the members of that LinkedIn group and start networking with them. All right? Because those are the people who are going to hear about opportunities that are not right for them, but could be right for you.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. So networking on LinkedIn, hugely important. I think we've been sort of emphasizing that today. And you really want to make sure that when you are out there networking, you are, again, looking for the people who not only, so there's sort of two things, people who know you, like you, trust you, have the relationships like Rebecca had with her colleague, but also the people who get what you do or get what you want to do. And in Rebecca's case, that was the intersection, because it was a trusted relationship of someone who was close enough to what she wanted to do, and then that person was able to make the right referral. If the person is close in relationship to you, but they have nothing to do with what you do, they might want to help you, but not really have the resources to do that. Likewise, if it's someone who knows what you do, but doesn't have a relationship with you yet, they may be able to help you, but may not be as willing because they don't know you as well. Both of those people can help you, but the greatest intersection is when it's both. They trust you, know you, and they're in your profession or in your industry. And that's really, really where you want to focus. So when you're looking on LinkedIn, you want to start doing some searches. Go into the search bar in the upper left-hand corner. Don't just put in names of people, put in categories. So Pete's case, you put in a CISSP, or in Christina's case, you put in insurance or property and casualty or what have you. You put in the keywords of either what you want to do or the industry that you want to do it in, or both. Hit search, the people button, and people are going to start coming up who are in your fish pond, right? You may or may not know them well. They might be just second levels, maybe even third levels, but these are people you can start reaching out to. You never, never know. And sure, a lot of people don't check their LinkedIn. And a lot of people will be like, oh, I don't know Pete, so I'm not going to respond. But somebody, some good soul out there is likely to say, hey, happy to meet you. Yeah, we're colleagues. Didn't even know. Sure, happy to network with you. You never know. Now, one thing I do want to let you all know is that in guess I don't remember, it was earlier this year, I can't remember when, LinkedIn did change its policy around making personalized invitations. It used to be that you could, if you had the free LinkedIn account, you could connect with anybody you wanted, hit the connect button, right, and send a personalized invitation. But you can't do that anymore. You only have on the free version of LinkedIn 5 personalized invitations a month. So you're reaching out to somebody you don't know, hitting the connect button, and you want to personalize the invitation. And in fact, I even think with the free, I think they limited it to 200 characters. It used to be 300. You only get 5 a month. If you go LinkedIn Premium, and I think it's the second level, you have unlimited connections per month. Because look, it's their business model. They got to make money, right? There's so much that they give to us for free. They're finally starting to charge us. But anyway, so just be aware of that. If you want to do lots of connections per month, you will probably have to go to LinkedIn Premium, and you can do the premium month by month. You don't have to do it for a full year if you just want to do a limited search. So while we're on the LinkedIn topic, are there other questions? Because I do have a training that I'll put into the search bar, or into the chat rather. It's a little out of date just because I did it couple of years ago, but a lot of the tips are still very relevant. I'm going to put this into chat. So this page right here, oops, no, that is not the link I want. Hold on a moment. Let me put this in here. Here we go. Okay, so this page has a bunch of job search videos. One of them, halfway down the page, says using LinkedIn like a pro. And that's a couple-hour training that I did a while back. Most of it's still up to date, and you're welcome to it. And it talks about both how to create a very compelling profile and then how to use the search features on LinkedIn to make meaningful connections. And in fact, on that page, there's another one there called Got Branding, Make Your Resume and LinkedIn Pop. The one that is from 2021 also has a LinkedIn sort of add-on, as well as the one that says Accessing the Hidden Job Market. That's a networking video, and that also has some, I believe I put in some LinkedIn connections in there, or LinkedIn training. So those are 3 that you may want to avail yourself of.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, it's good that you have these. I'm only asking this or putting you on the spot because I thought you may have mentioned this in our last call or call before last. But you do have this, so it's stuck on automatic. But are you still contemplating making one of these a dedicated this?
Thank you for the prompter. Yes, we need to do that. So what Alki is referring to is that, this call that we've been doing for, gosh, it's 4.5 years now, is typically just this. It's open Q&A, and then the 3 of us will do like a 5-minute deep dive on something. But to Alki's point, what he and I were talking about offline is actually dedicating, a session like this to just one topic, periodically doing that. And so, yes, we should do it. If there are topics that are particularly relevant to all of you, feel free to let me know. And we can just, the three of us can just kind of do the full deep dive. Like I know Vern and I, we've done, we've co-led a workshop on just on networking. You know, I know Alki and I have the sort of recruiter lens, like we could do whatever you like, but we're happy to take a dedicated session and just take the whole time and just go into a topic. So are there any of the topic, and you could look at the list that I just gave you because there's a bunch of them on there. Any topics that you all would feel would be particularly helpful to do a deep dive on?
And I know I'm stepping on the audience's toes here, but I was gonna put my bid in for this networking and with Vern, with you and Vern as well, this making your contacts count and this LinkedIn, the one you just mentioned. That's been I've been keeping track of the poll in my head, and this is a leading one for the fans out there.
Sure. Yeah, let's do that. Let's look to that maybe in January and take one of these sessions and do a special. And I'll have to update the meetup group to mention that that's what we're going to be focusing on that day. And yeah, good. Thank you for the prompt, Alki.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, any other questions? Anything else that's sort of top of mind? Oh, actually, before we, if there's not, we do this every once in a while. We do a little bit of networking around the room. And so since we have a smaller crowd, I think we can do a little bit deeper, and that's to talk about what you do, right? What your job search is. So let's do Pete, Christina, Mark, and then I know, Rebecca, you've already landed, but still, you can still share what you do so that if someone else on the call connects with that, they can maybe tap you. So Pete, go ahead and share with us briefly about your job search, meaning the kind of job you're looking for, the sector you're looking for it in, and what a good lead for you looks like what kind of company you're trying to reach out to, or just any kind of connections that you're looking for.
Thanks. Sure. So I'm primarily, or my preference would be to find a position with a nonprofit, ideally a Christian organization, but I'm open to pretty much any opportunity in IT leadership and or cybersecurity. I do have a certification in information system security, which I'm trying to, I guess, take advantage of as well. I do have a real passion for protecting and educating staff members from all the social engineering tactics and whatnot that the bad guys try to use to get into organizations. So,
Would you be open to working for an MSP?
yes.
So if you could send me a note offline, one of my clients actually is an MSP here in the DC area, and I'm happy to do an intro. It just occurred to me as you were talking. So
Yeah.
if you want to prompt me, I'll do the introduction. And make sure to pop your resume in there as well, so I can forward it.
Okay.
Great. All right, Christina.
Yes, I am focusing mainly on customer service positions. The insurance agencies have positions for salespeople who sell new policies and customer service who follow up with customers, answer their questions, maybe upsell. And it seemed like an easier way to start out because I just got my license. And I'm focusing mainly right now on State Farm.
Do you have a customer service background?
Yes, I do. I have a strong customer service background.
You're just shifting into this, and you're still sticking with your customer service lane. You're just shifting into this industry.
Right. And I also have a strong sales background.
Okay.
I know I tossed out somebody to you privately in the message there. I didn't know you were going to say that part, but there's one person from our group who's in the customer service space. They're not in the insurance space, but I actually used to work with a customer service client who is in the insurance space, and I also know somebody with State Farm. So
Oh,
Let me check on those and just see if they have anything to them.
okay. Okay, I'd like to reach out to you on LinkedIn. I don't have my link with me right now, but I can reach out to you. Is that okay?
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
And Halki, if you want to put your email address in the chat for Christina, maybe that's another way you guys can connect. Great. And Mark.
Well, as some of you know, I'm an attorney. I've worked in the financial services area, and what I'm seeking is a position either with a bank or trade association or other financial service provider in regulatory and affairs relating to mergers and acquisitions, new corporate powers, um, uh, trade associations would be welcome too. Um, my background consists of about half of my 35 plus year career in government, half with law firms. So I know both sides of the track, which can be valuable in this town. Thank you.
Something just occurred to me. Since you've last been here, I have I got a new connection, and her name is Beth, and she has been an executive in the financial services space in the regulatory area, more on the technology side of things, but she's
Mhm.
been knee deep in all the everything around
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
regs
Yeah.
and has a deep, vast connection pool. So she's a senior exec. Go ahead and send me a note and just say introduction to Beth
Okay.
in financial services, and I will tee up an intro.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Remember to send your resume.
Wonderful.
Great. And Rebecca, remind us of your little journey and maybe the
Yeah.
connection here.
So I'm also an attorney, but my whole career has been in publishing slash editorial slash, and it's, increasingly become what they call content management. Um, so yeah, but in legal. So in my job search, I was looking for that again, but also I kind of went off to the side and looked for um, publishing editorial, not legal. I was also a manager for the last few years where I was, and I looked for, some supervisory jobs, but mostly not. Um, so, kind of, that was one thing I struggled with, was I think Sherry, you had said, you have to you have to pick your lane, and you have to make your LinkedIn reflect what you want to do. But I, was also casting a wider net, so that was something I struggled with, finding the balance there as well. But anyway, I ended up back back with legal editorial again. So I'm, back where I'm comfortable and very happy to continue doing that.
Well, and to tell you the truth, Rebecca, I'm glad you mentioned that because that is so, so common. Okay. When folks try to go outside the tribe, if you will, it can be challenging and not impossible. It definitely does happen. Often people will end up coming back to their roots. Why? Because yes, you're comfortable, but so is the employer.
Mhm.
Remember, this is a relationship. Your needs and their needs are just as important. There are things that you want to do and you feel capable of doing, and there are qualifications that they have where they're going to feel like you're a better fit, both in terms of what you do and the sector that you do it for. And so often the employer is saying, oh, we want the person who's been there, done what we want them to do in the sector that we want them to. It makes them feel comfy, cozy. Okay. So to the extent that you can make them feel comfy, cozy, it increases your chances of landing. Again, not impossible to do those shifts. People do it. But the more common is what you're talking about, coming back to your roots. That's just the most common thing in the world.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, in my interview, he asked something along the lines of, why should we hire you? And I said, well, because I've done this before.
Exactly right. I'm known, I'm tried, I'm true, I'm tested, right? That's exactly right.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah. Well, good. All right, everyone. So we're going to go ahead and formally end the call. If any of you would like to stay on for a short prayer call, I will be leading that for a little bit right afterwards. And otherwise, look forward to seeing everyone in a couple of weeks. Say Merry Christmas anyway, because it is that holiday time. And look forward to seeing you all soon. And feel free to bring your friends. We have lots of Hollywood squares here that are available for folks. So happy to fill up the page. All right, everyone, have a blessed day.